Welcome to the JustPeace TALANOA BURE at COVID-19. Arising from the impacts of disasters and the pandemic, leaders, especially women, as the frontline responders, are most affected. Upholding the appreciation of diversity and the cultural values with communal living, the value of identity and land with critical policy changes and transitions, and at the same time being obliged to family care, meeting safety measures and protocols to maintain safety and healthy practices. That further contributes to greater challenges faced during the close down, managing containments together with the critical priority of job losses and its impacts on local community, resources, economic and food security. Households in villages and communities are overcrowded as people search for alternative livelihoods and are supported by extended families and friends. With these bigger challenges impacts people of special needs and the elderly with access to basic needs and services. Creating safe space dialogue to raise concerns, share views and stories. And here with us is the Loraini Ravoka, and retired school teacher from Waivunia Savusavu, the Conrove, and Hellen Bureintetau from Rabi Island, from the province of the Conrove, whom also faces the challenge of not being able to return to farming in her island, and at the same time the issues that their people are facing with the identity documentations that is a humanitarian barrier to their progress and development and their safety and human security. Join us at the TALANOA with our host and moderator, Justine Maravu, Project Officer, Transcend Oceania.
Welcome to the JustPeace TALANOA BURE at COVID-19, a platform that brings together community representatives, leaders, women and youth to share stories and priorities that holds value to them, their people, and Vanua. Through their experiences, there is also lessons learned, recommendations, possible solutions, and plans to the current situation. Joining us today, we have Hellen from the Rabi Community and Loraini Ravoka from Waivunia Village in Savusavu. Bulavinaka Hellen and Bulavinaka Loraini. Let's start with our TALANOA. Let's look at some of our values that we hold dear. Some of our values that have really brought us through struggles in life, and it has been, passed down to us from our forefathers. What are some of the values that you like about in your culture? What are some of the traditional practices that the older generation value most from your community? Loraini?
Thank you, Justine. Our culture, or our Fijian culture, or any other culture, is a gift given. And we really value all the cultures that we have, right from our forefathers' generation till now, and it is evolving. Culture is who you are and what you are, and it speaks volume of yourself. And our culture, our dialects, it's our identity. It shows people where we are from. So if we are from the Conrove, she's from Rabi, I'm from Savusavu, but there are connections between us, and sometimes we understand our cultures because we are just neighbors. Thank you, Justine.
Naka. Hellen?
Thank you, Justine, for that question. In my opinion, the culture that I value most is the wedding ceremony tradition. It is mostly based on mutual right and respect between the two families who had identified the compatible partner for the respective child, followed initially by an engagement ceremony which would last between a year, and the latest wedding on Tapiang indicated 7 years. Before the actual wedding takes place, with all the ritual strictly adhered to, particularly the consumption where the bride has to be a virgin. So much so that the celebration can last for a week or more. The older generation is very particular about the tradition too.
Thank you, Helen, for sharing something that I think most of us do not know about the Rambi culture, but is similar to all other cultures in the Pacific. Yes, so in addition to what you have just mentioned about values, looking at what's happening now, what are some of the emerging issues of concern for you ladies, and who are the most affected from your perspective? Helen?
And rightfully so, since the current younger generation have increasingly ignored this tradition, opting to elope instead with their own love interests. And this, I believe, is an emerging issue with this elopement trend. The younger generation is vulnerable to upsetting traditional protocols, because in some circumstances they are highly likely to end up with a relative or blood relation, possibly a cousin, aunt, uncle, niece, or nephew, thus breaching human security priorities.
Binaka Helen, Loraini?
Okay, some emerging issues on yes, one, we have natural disasters due to climate change, and like in my village in Waivunia, these emerging issues that we have, like we have to cross rivers. Even little children, when they go to school, they have to cross 2 bridges before they can reach the school. In my time when I go to school, I have to walk and cross the river. But now the bus has reached our home at our doorsteps, and the children, they are lucky that they can come by bus. But when there is a flood, I think the buses can cross those 2 rivers. And what they do, they have to stop at the end of this side of the riverbank while their parents come and pick them. There's a big rope across the river, and there are some people who have to be there on the other side there are some people on the other side, they are waiting to hold them.
Thank you for watching JustPeace TALANOA at COVID-19. Stay tuned. We will be back after this break. Welcome again to our JustPeace TALANOA at COVID-19. Now, Helen and Loraini, looking back 5 to 10 years ago, what has changed and why? Loraini?
As I have already said, that our culture is evolving. 5-10 years ago, people in the village, they are computer illiterate. Sorry to say that, but now nearly all the children in the village have small mobile phones where they can access to internets. But due to unavailability of network in our village, they have to walk, I think, 30 minutes to the seaside, and where they can access to a network. And that's something that changed a lot in my village. And the second one is the way of life they're living every day, what they are eating. I'm living in Suva now, but when I was in the village, and I know I can recall what my mom and dad used to give me is just traditional food, and they live day-to-day basis, where they just get food from the sea and from the farm. We have to eat in today. Tomorrow they'll go back and look for what we have to eat the next day. And that's what they do. And what we have, modern technology, and what we have in our houses has changed a lot, right? Because like moms, we always go to the creek to wash in our time there in the village. But now we have washing machines at home. So that's what changed at home in the house. And even yesterday, some of the young boys in the village, they go to the farm. Our fathers, they take baskets made of coconut leaves. But now I saw them with knapsacks. Oh, we're going to town? No, we are going to the farm. You carrying your knapsack? That's what changed, or the way of life and what they do in the village and in the farm, and what they eat. Instead of bringing or going out fishing, they just buy from town and markets and shops. So I think there's a lot of changes in our villages now. Thank you.
Thank you, Loraini. Helen?
Thank you for the question, Justine. In terms of climate change impact, Rambi has been very fortunate. So the only effects are in two particular areas. Rising sea level has eroded but a small portion of our coastal roads, where the spring tides bring the seawater right up to the road. Change in season. Weather patterns, which has brought about prolonged dry spells, affecting the water supply, and flora and fauna, turning them brown from lush green.
Thank you, Helen. So from what you have shared, what are the processes that are working within your community, and what are the challenges faced? Helen?
The existing gap for COVID-19 awareness came from the lack of knowledge regarding its transmission, safe practices, and vaccination, which was promptly addressed through an awareness program or workshop led by Mr. Ray Pantes in collaboration with Ministry of Health, Rabi Council of Leaders, village committees. The ultimate result was the successful vaccination program conducted on the island. We Rambians are fortunate to have Ray Pantes who stepped in to fill that gap.
Helen? Loraini?
Gaps and processes working in our village, like the challenges that we face, mostly because of this climate change. Main one is flooding, because our village, we have a river running in the middle where we have houses on both sides of the bank. And before, I think it's 10 meters, our house is built 10 meters away from the bank. But now I think because of this climate change, it's a meter away, and we're about to be flooded away to the sea. And I think that's a main challenge that we are facing. And second one is hurricane, cyclones. Since in our villages we don't have cyclone-proof houses, and it's easily blown away during cyclones. And so we need awareness so that people who want to build their house now, maybe to have cyclone-proof houses and being inspected by engineers so that they are safe and secured in their homes. And I think that's all, Justine. I can share this.
Thank you, Helen and Loraini. Thank you for watching JustPeace TALANOA BURE at COVID-19. Stay tuned. We will be back after this break. Welcome again to our JustPeace TALANOA BURE at COVID-19. Loraini and Helen, what are some of the recommendations that you would like for positive change that you and your community would like to see in the future? Helen?
Thank you, Justine, for that question. I, for one, would be extremely grateful if there is a joint effort between the Rabi Council of Leaders through the Office of the Prime Minister to seek assistance from the Register of Births, Marriages, Deaths to address a long-standing issue affecting our people who were born here but have yet to register their births, although they are well into their late 20s, 30s, and 40s. This renders them as aliens, and they have no record of their existence in this world. A sad situation indeed.
Thank you, Helen. Loraini?
Thank you, Justine. Recommendations for positive changes, for effective results. I'm talking a lot on climate change and our culture. And our short-term positive change, we can make a lot of awareness to the villages on how to be secured in the environment and what steps they have to take in order to be safe in their own environment. And like in our village, in my village, like we're prone to flooding. Flooding is the main drawback there in our village. In the village where I'm married to, they suffered a tsunami, and the house in the village now we have only 1 meter away from the sea, from Koro in Lomaiviti. And I think we need a lot of awareness to them, because they are relying on us, relying on the people in the government just to share what they want, share what they think that they can do to them. And like in our village now, a positive change has been, I have seen with the boys and men in the village about they having a project, 5-year project, where each man has to have a farm of 1,000 yangona plants. After 3 years, that's a long-term project. After 3 years, they will harvest, and they have to have a goal before they go and plant. And I think a lot of them need houses of their own and cars. And I think they have started in 2019. Maybe in 2022, that's their first harvest. And every first week of the month, that's when they will, it's a sacred week for them. Those who are smoking won't smoke. Those who are no grog or no cover for the week. And because they want to keep that, because they have a goal that they want to reach after that 3 years. So in 2022, they'll start their harvest. Maybe when we go back now to the village, in 2022, I think there will be a lot of new houses. Maybe they will relocate because our village is mountains around, and we are just in the middle, and the river there. Maybe they'll relocate, and that's what we think. It's a good change for them, and my positive change. And it's good to see when we go home, we go to the village. That's what they do, and that's very encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you, Loraini. Thank you, Helen. You've both mentioned very important points that we need to consider looking at accessing government services in the islands, and also making sure that the Rambi people are registered. And also, Loraini, you've talked about awareness and training. There needs to be more awareness and training because of the changes that are happening now. Our community needs a lot of awareness in terms of natural disaster and food security, and also development of the community in general. So is there any other thing that you would like to share to our viewers today? Helen and Loraini? Helen?
Thank you, Justine. Another compelling issue affecting Rambians is the process of naturalization. These our kinsmen who were born in Kiribati, mostly in Panepe, but having made Fiji their home for more than 10 years, albeit illegally. Their applications for naturalization is currently under consideration, and it is our humble plea and prayer that their cases can be expedited so that their citizenship status in Fiji can be validated and legalized. Naka, Justine.
Thank you, Helen. Loraini?
Thank you, Justine. Importance. I want to share the importance and significance of our Vanua and our prayers that it's okay, and the Fijians who are here in Fiji, that we value our land, we value our culture, we value our sea and everything that we own. And during this time, while COVID is on the flow, COVID-19 is on the flow, there are health issues in our various homes. We are locked down in our own bubbles, and there was to us it's okay, and there was the discussion of this that Bill 17 of the land, and like I'm as in it's okay. I know I cry out because I know that really affect me because I mean it's okay. And when what it's being done and what's being passed, so it's my question: who will I take my prayers to, and where will I cry, just to get secured in my generations? Thank you, Justine.
Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us in our TALANOA and sharing insights, sharing about the concerns that you have. We thank you for your time. We have come to our last segment, Thank you, viewers, for watching JustPeace TALANOA Mbure at COVID-19.
As we conclude our JustPeace TALANOA Mbure at COVID-19, we are reminded once more to enable people living just peace and nonviolence in Oceania. We need to be both mindful and maintain safety protocol, mask up. Home isolation may be tough while caring for each other, and at the same time, our need for peace and stability within the safety of our homes, communities, and the nation at large is of vital importance, building just peace community in changing environment and climate. Let's also continue the importance of TALANOA at this platform. I'm Adi Vasulevu. Join us at the same time next week. Binaka Wakalevu.